Welcome to Keys to an Aligned Life, where we explore how the choices we make about our homes, our mindset, and our daily lives can move us closer to the life we truly love. I'm Elise Natoli. If you don't know who I am, I'm a Florida realtor, a science teacher, and a life coach. And my true passion is helping people make confident decisions that align with the life they want to build. Whether you're buying your first home, maybe you're thinking about finally making the move, or simply you just need some practical advice and encouragement along the way, you're in the right place. So grab your coffee and let's talk about what today's aligned move is. Before we jump into our topic, I do want to connect this really to the episodes I'm making because there's a purpose behind them. In the first episode, we talked about knowing when it's time to move. Sometimes the biggest question isn't, should I move? It's, am I building the life that I want? And this all comes back to the topic we're going to talk about today, making a decision in that home buying process by knowing the life you want to build, because it's very easy to get distracted. In episode 2, we talked about whether you should buy now or wait. And this really was about not letting fear or headlines or what other people say make the decision for you. We want you to really understand what you want and what season of life you're in, and then make the best decision for you and possibly your family. And then in episode 3, we talked about how much house you can afford. This, of course, connects back to both of those because once we know why we're moving, we then have to get that financial piece into place. When we know what life we're trying to build, we need the finances to match that. So, are we buying a house that's too expensive, that's not allowing you to live your life that you want? Then that's probably not the best decision for you. So you're probably thinking, all right, Elise, I know I want to buy. So now what do I do? Right. And this could be a great conversation if you're a first time buyer and have never bought before. Or maybe it's been a really long time since you've bought a house and you either A, don't remember because it's not something you do, often, or B, you know, it's something you want to learn more about. And so that's why I definitely want to talk about this because things change. Like the home buying process, even by the time I became a realtor, has changed and the market changes and things change. So I really want to be a place for you to come here for information that can help you make the best decision for yourself. All right. So today I'm going to walk you through the home buying process from the beginning to the end and explain what happens at each step and really share what lessons I've learned through the home buying process. And this could be from people I've helped, my personal customers and clients, as well as me. I've actually bought, and sold 3 separate times. So I've learned a lot from each experience. And my hope is that by the end of the episode, you'll feel less overwhelmed and much more confident about what's your next step and what's ahead for you. So let's talk about step 1. So here's the thing. We know we want to move, right? And we understand the life we want to build. So here's the biggest mistake I see. Buyers just will start going on Zillow. Like they'll just start looking by themselves. This looks pretty. This looks nice. And we just want to see homes. Because let's be real, going to tour homes is so much fun. It's like one of my favorite parts. But if you don't have clarity, it is so easy to fall in love with a home that doesn't fit the life you want to build. And so before you schedule any showings with your realtor, I encourage you to make these 3 lists. And I'm sure your realtor would tell you these exact lists to make. And you've probably heard about them before. But the first one is the must-haves. What are the things you need to build the life you want? Are you a newly engaged couple and you know you want a big family? Well, then you're probably going to want a certain number of bedrooms because maybe you don't want to move again. Or maybe you're having kids and you want to move to a specific school district. So you need to be in a specific parameter. Maybe your commute is driving you absolutely nuts and you are moving specifically because you don't want to drive that long anymore. Or, you live in a multiple story home and you're like, I can't do these stairs anymore. I'm done. I need a single story home. I've been like that. That happened to us. So those are must-have things that are your non-negotiables. You've got to have them or we're not putting an offer in. Then you have your nice-to-have, things that you would love to have. Like they would be great, but you don't necessarily need them for the life you're building. This could be a pool, a home office, certain things in the backyard, a 3-car garage. Maybe it's a 2-car garage. Maybe it's nice to have, but you don't need a 2-car garage. Whatever that might be for you. And of course, we want dream features, right? Like those things that it's like, wouldn't it be amazing if we had amazing water views? We had an outdoor kitchen. We had, again, a 3-car garage. And those dreams are wonderful. And by knowing those dreams, it helps to keep you in perspective. And I really want to preface that these lists are going to look different for everybody. And I'm going to give you an example. If you are a family like me, my biggest thing was I needed 4 bedrooms. I needed 1 bedroom for each kid, and I wanted an office because I work from home. And that was like a non-negotiable for me. I'm like, this is the life we're living. I need to have these specific things. And I was very specific about it. I was very intentional about it. And we did find a home that fit, and it was wonderful. And I know you can do the same, but I'm just giving you an example of that. So for us, that was the most important. And a water view, yeah, sure, that's great. But that is a nice to have dream feature for me, right? For somebody else, if their goal is to move from, let's say, up north or the country, and they are wanting to live on the water, like that is their dream, that is the lifestyle they want to live, that may be in their must-have list. So that is the thing I want to encourage you to understand is like, you're going to have different must-haves, nice-to-haves, and dream features than other people. And guess what? It's okay. Every family has different goals. You just want to make sure you're shopping for your goals and not for anybody else's. So I just want you to know that when I help buyers, okay, if you don't decide what's important before you start looking, someone else's dream home can become your distraction. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. The clarity of knowing what you must have will keep you focused. And that's just true in everything, in real estate, in life, in your own personal goals. So I want to share a little bit of a story who changed their priorities based on what was mattering most to them. So I had a family, they were looking for a home. And, at first they were very specific that I wanted a certain number of, bedrooms. And they said to me, look, I'm looking for this amount of bedrooms. We're not going to break on this. But as we were going through the process, I started noticing that they were sending me houses that didn't have this number of bedrooms. And I said to myself, I need to check in with them. Because sometimes when you're not looking, or you're not finding, I should say, what you're looking for, people will start to stretch. Like, I need to move. I need to find a house. I'm going to start sending stuff that really doesn't have my must-haves, but I want to make it work, right? And sometimes that's a situation, and sometimes you have the opportunity to wait. And every situation is different. But I really had to ask them. I said, okay, look, I know you told me this is what you wanted. Is this still what you want? Because you're sending me houses that are less bedrooms than what you stated. And I want to make sure we're on the same page. So we're not going to look at stuff that you really, honestly, truly don't want. And once we sat down and talked about that, we talked more about their must-haves. And they honestly changed a little bit after seeing the prices, the areas, and what they wanted. So I just want you to see that sometimes these things will change. It's good to have a list to start with. And as you start looking, you can get a better idea of your must-haves, of the things you really need. And sometimes looking does that, but you want to have a list before you even look. All right. So of course we have to go over finances, and that's where step 2 is. We want to get pre-approved. Now, again, I really stress that before you go through the pre-approval process, that you really sit down and do your own budget. And if you have any questions about that, you can always reach out to me or check out the last episode I just posted about, living your best life and budgeting for a life you truly want. So you have this number now. You know about how much you want to spend per month on a house. Why you want to get the pre-approval is it will let you know what you can borrow and what will allow you to have the monthly payment you want. So what total price point is going to give you that monthly that you're looking to spend, and what makes sense for you based on your debt to income ratio. One thing I always remind my clients is your pre-approval, again, is not your spending goal. So if they pre-approve you for a really high amount, but that is not a comfortable monthly payment, then you don't want to buy at that price. So again, what payment is allowing you to enjoy the life I want? Because buying a home should add to your life and not create stress. And I say this because I have seen people overextend their budget for something they really wanted. And sometimes it makes sense. Sometimes it does, depending on what your goals are. But it's hard to know your goals and the big picture if you're not doing the work to see the picture of your finances as it is. And I say that because only you know what you have and don't have and are comfortable with and what you're not. And so that is a decision you can ask your realtor, your loan officer, and go in that pre-approval process. So here's the other thing I want to talk about pre-approval. It is really crucial you have this before you even look. And I say that because if you're going to, either one or two ways you're going to pay. You're either going to be financing or you're going to pay in cash. Every offer you make has to have either one of two things. It has to have proof of funds if you're paying with cash, or it has to have a pre-approval that you are financing and that you are qualified to finance. And so why I'm saying that is so many people just want to look to see what's out there, but they don't want to tell people their financial information, which I understand. I don't love sharing all of that either myself. However, in this case, it's important to be as so open and honest as you can be. Anything you forget to tell them or don't want to tell them and don't, your loan officer, it could mean you not closing on the property because they will find all the things. So I just encourage you to be as open and honest as you can. There's no judgment in this space. There's no, things that we look at you and judge you for. Absolutely not. But we need you to be pre-approved before looking, because if you want to, make the move, we need that pre-approval, and that pre-approval can take a couple days. So let's say you see a property on a Monday and you're like, I like it, now I want to get pre-approved. Well, you might not have that till Friday, and someone else could have offered and now it's gone. So it's really important to have that pre-approval. Also, you don't want to fall in love with a house that it might not be comfortable for you to pay for. So I encourage you to know your numbers, get pre-approved, have your proof of funds prior to looking. And here's the other thing. While you're looking for a house, while you're getting pre-approved, you don't want to make major purchases at this time. You don't want to buy new cars. You don't want to buy furniture yet. I know you're like, well, I need to fill the house. Not yet. And no opening credit cards, because even the smallest debt could affect your loan before closing and prevent you from closing. So just to give you an example, we did have someone that unfortunately wanted to close, did all the right things, but then bought furniture before closing. And they were not able to close on the property because that amount of furniture affected their debt to income ratio. And they got to the closing table and they were not able to close. We did eventually close. It was prolonged and we had to find more funds, but everything is very particular and underwriting can take a long time. All right, so step number 3, we want to tour some homes. This is the most exciting part. We want to see homes. But I encourage my buyers to do something a little bit different. And I actually have them rate their homes, and I have a very specific method, and I'll probably get into that in one of the episodes. But the main goal is, can you see yourself on an ordinary Tuesday? That is what I want to know. Versus, where would you put your Christmas tree and where would you sit, right? Because honestly, I want you to see, like, can you walk this neighborhood if that's something you enjoy? Do you feel comfortable coming home after work? Like, this is a place you are going to be when you are not working, or maybe you're working at home, so you're going to be there all the time. Because those ordinary moments, you coming in from work, you making your cup of coffee, you walking your neighborhood, like those little moments become your everyday life. And the one thing I can give is take a notebook or something with you that you can take notes as you go along. Because once you see a couple homes, they all start blending together. And it can be a lot. Write down what you loved, what you didn't love, how the house made you feel. When you walked into it, did you feel peace? Did you feel chaos? What was it? So I do want to share that sometimes you can look at a home online and you can fall in love with it. And then you go look at it and it is not at all what you expected. I hate to tell you, but pictures can be deceiving. And when you take pictures of a property, the goal is to make it look amazing, right? To draw people into it. So, why I say that is because there were many times I have taken out a buyer and they were like, this is it. I think this one is it. And we would go inside and it was just not what it was. I remember one of my last transactions, we had an idea of which one we wanted to put an offer in, but they were like, we have to see this one. It looks really nice. I go up, I show them this, and even I was like, wow, I didn't think this was it. The layout was just so odd because you couldn't see it from the pictures. And even though it looked like it was redone, you could tell, from being close that it wasn't as nice as we thought. So I just want you to know you want to go see it and you want to take notes because you would be very surprised. Sometimes the house that you don't expect is going to be the one. It is. So then we want to choose the right home. And one question I get all the time is, will I just know? And I want to say sometimes, yes, there have been homes that I was just like, this is it. And then there were homes my husband knew it was. But it's not always like that. And I think sometimes we look at movies or HGTV shows and they walk in and they're like, this is it. This is the one. But sometimes real life is a little quieter. Sometimes the right home simply just feels peaceful or it just checks all your must haves or it fits in your budget, right? It's perfect or it fits for the future you want. So don't confuse excitement sometimes with alignment, especially if you're an emotional authority like myself. The right home should not only be exciting, but it should support the life you're building and not just impress you in that moment, right? So I say that because I remember I had a client and we loved a house. It was awesome. It was great, but it truly didn't fit in her budget. And it was really sad because she loved it so much. She wanted it so much. But after learning that this home was in a specific area and needed more insurance and was a little bit older and the even homeowners insurance was a little high, more than we originally thought it was going to be, the numbers didn't match up. And it was really sad because if this home had been even just like another town away, it would have been completely different. So I want you to know that I truly believe when it's meant to be, it will be. And when the numbers work out, they work out. And when they don't, they don't. And that just means there's something better for you coming. All right. So let's say you found the home, right? We found the home. It's time to make the offer. This is where your realtor becomes your advocate. We look at comparable sales. What has sold in that neighborhood in the last 30 days? If we don't have anything, 60 days, and we continue. What are the market conditions? Are we more buyer? Are we more seller? How long has it been on the market? Is the seller motivated? Are they not motivated? And then we create a strategy together. What range do we see? Where do we want to start? And are we comfortable going up to? And here's the thing. Once you make that offer, the seller has three choices. They can accept it, which is awesome. They can completely reject it, or they can counter your offer and offer something else they want. The negotiation process, I know people think it's like, I just want to win. It really isn't a win. What we are trying to do here is not be ego over somebody else. We're trying to reach an agreement where everyone feels comfortable to a certain extent. And that's what I say is the seller might have a bottom number that they need, and my buyer might have a number they don't want to go over. And we have to respect that and try to find a middle ground. And if we can't, then we walk away. I've had times where we were writing an offer, we write an offer on a property, and they wanted a specific addendum. And the addendum just didn't make sense for my buyer because if the addendum went through, they would have owed a lot of money out of pocket. And I explained this to them. And so we decided not to go any further with that house because it just didn't make sense for her and what the seller wanted. Sometimes it's wonderful and negotiation is great, especially if we can have great comparables to show the value of a home. It just depends on where we are from here. All right. So you've bought the house, we haven't bought it, but you've put an offer in. We are negotiated, we agreed on a price, we have an executed contract. In your executed contract, you have an inspection period, and that can be anywhere from 7 to 10, even 15 days. So usually 15 days, would say it was a little excess, probably 10. And that's one of the most important parts of the process, because now you have 10 days to inspect whatever you want on the home. And you can back out for any reasons. Let's say you walk back in and you're like, now I don't like it. Like, there is, you know, a great part of this inspection period. The inspection isn't about finding the perfect house with nothing wrong with it, because I hate to tell you, every house has something, right? It's about understanding the home you're buying and what you might need to save up for in the future. You can have so many different types of inspections. The two main ones that we do is the general home inspection and the termite inspection, or wood destroying organisms inspection. If you have heard anything about the home or are worried about anything, you can do a mold inspection. If we find anything on the normal inspection, it can lead to more, like maybe well water inspection. I've done a sewer scope before, maybe a specific roof inspection if we're worried about the age of the roof. Another one that usually is part of your general inspection is the 4-point. And the 4-point inspection is really important because it covers the 4 main parts of the home. And if you are financing, that leads to your insurance. So if a roof is too old, if an AC is too old, if electrical is not up to, par or plumbing, then we have to have those fixed for insurance to be here. And then finally, you usually need a wind mitigation, and that's also for insurance, especially here down in Florida. So once you have these inspections, they usually label them for you, and inspectors are really great. What is, minimal? And remember, their job is to find things. Like, if they don't find things, you're kind of worried. Like, how did you even find anything? And so they're gonna level them into not really important, middle grade important, and then, hey, we need to get these fixed, right? And so what comes after that is we look at it together, your realtor and yourself, and you really decide, like, what do we want to do? Do we want to ask for credits and repair it ourselves, but they, contribute to those repairs? Do we want them to repair it? Do we adjust the price of the home? Because, we have these repairs, and now, for me to put in that, maybe I want to adjust the price. Or sometimes you get them and we have an as-is contract and you don't ask for any repairs. I would say most cases in the buying that I've done, we've asked for at least concessions for some of the repairs at closing. Every home has imperfections. So the goal is to understand what you're buying. And sometimes you're going to have an inspection and you might decide, honestly, to walk away. And that's okay. Or it might give you peace of mind that it is done. But don't be afraid to have multiple inspections if it's something that's going to, give you peace of mind. But I will preface with this. They can't find everything, and they are not experts in every part. Like, even if they do a 4-point, which has your AC and roof, in my second house we bought, they were like, oh, your AC's old, but it has some life. We just don't know when. I moved in the week after we closed and I had to buy a whole new AC system. So you just don't know what's going to happen and when. So I really encourage you to look at that with a grain of salt, because it does not predict what's happening in the future. All right. And then we're getting down a little bit more to the end, but step 7 is financing and appraisal. If you are financing, then this pertains to you. If you're paying cash, you don't even have to worry about this. So while inspections are happening, your lender's always going to be working behind the scenes, and they have underwriting starting that process. And then once we know we're good, inspections are done, we've renegotiated what we want, now we have to complete an appraisal. An appraisal is pretty much your lender deciding based on the market what your home is worth. And this is why it's really important your realtor looks at comparables prior to offering, because we don't want to go so high that we go above what the appraisal price is. And so once the appraisal is completed and we know that it's worth either, your pricing or more, then you're good to go, because then they will loan you the amount that you've said you wanted to pay. If it comes in lower, that's when we have to go back to the negotiation table and see, are we paying this out of pocket? We love this house so much, we don't really care. Or are we going to meet the seller in the middle? Or is the seller going to come back down to the appraisal price? So this actually happened to a friend of mine. They bought a home, but they had been looking for so long and the house underappraised. And they tried to convince the seller, but the seller wouldn't budge. This happens. I hate to say it. And they decided they wanted the house bad enough. So they actually did pay the difference up in cash. They had to add more cash to their closing just to make up that difference in price. All right. So, last but not least, after we get past this appraisal, there might be a survey, and then we are at closing day. Usually, before closing day, we hope it's a couple days prior, you get the clear to close from your financing. If you're paying cash, we're going to wire funds. You might still wire funds for financing too if you're putting any money down. But we are at closing day. Lenders had said, we're good to go. We're giving you the money for the house. Everything's good. Inspections are good. Whatever they had to fix, they fixed. We've checked that it's fixed. Everything's good. We are even doing something before we officially close, and we're going to walk through. We're going to walk through that home, make sure everything's been done appropriately. No one did something super damaging before we sign these documents. And then we're going to sign the documents if everything's good. We're going to receive the keys, and we're going to be a homeowner. And this is one of my favorite days because not because of the paperwork and all the things, but I get to watch this journey finally get to the end. And it's really not the end of the journey. It might be the end of our journey together, but it's the beginning for somebody else and this new chapter of their lives. And it's truly a privilege. I never take it for granted because it's such a beautiful thing. I know for me, one of the most beautiful closings I ever had was my first one. And that is because they were a family, they were expecting a baby, and they wanted to get into this house before, and they wanted to live in a certain place by their family. And I just felt so amazing in that closing because I knew it was the house she wanted, and I knew what this meant for them because I have my children and I understood what my home has given my family. And it was just amazing. So it is probably my favorite day. Sometimes it's easier to get there than others, depending on what happens. But that's the fun part about real estate. Every transaction is different. And so I don't want to scare you, but there are things that can be barriers. But if you have a great realtor and team and lender that are helping you problem solve, it's fantastic. So in today's episode, I know it was a little bit longer, but I really wanted to explain these parts to you because it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a long process and it can go very smoothly. And sometimes there's some bumps in the road. So I want you to remember this. Buying a home isn't one giant decision. It's a series of smaller ones. One conversation, one showing, one offer, one inspection, maybe more, one signature. And it's one aligned move at the time. And that's true in this capacity in real estate, but it's also true in life. And before you ever start looking at homes, create that must have, nice to have dream features list, because I'm telling you, it will help you stay focused and make decisions with confidence, because I would hate for someone to get to the closing table and it wasn't what they truly needed. If this episode made you feel more confident about the home buying process, I'd love for you to subscribe. Or if you know someone that's about to go through this process and you think this would be helpful information, please feel free to share it with them. Here on Keystone Line Life, we talk about real estate, personal growth, how to make those confident decisions for ourselves that supports the life we have and want to build. And if you know that someone is, buying their first home, again, please share this with them, I should say. And you don't have to have the answer today. You just have to be willing to take that next aligned step. So thank you so much for spending this time with me. Until next time, keep building a life you love, one aligned move at a time.